This video is an overview of the ESG Management Application. ServiceNow ESG is a framework that helps an organization's investors, customers, employees, and suppliers understand how the organization is managing risks and opportunities related to environmental, social, and governance issues. Environmental issues like waste management and carbon footprint, social issues like ethnic and gender diversity in the workplace, and governance issues like cybersecurity and corruption. ESG also incorporates topics like data privacy, ethical corporate behavior, and employee learning and development. All these issues can impact a company's success, and public perception can magnify that impact. To manage these risks effectively, companies need a systematic approach to ESG. Companies that have adopted ESG see it not as a regulatory burden, but as a way to help them act ethically, improve public image, and attract investment. So to show their progress in their ESG journeys, companies disclose ESG data like greenhouse gas emissions, gender diversity, and waste management. Depending on their ESG maturity, companies can be at different stages of their ESG journeys. The ServiceNow ESG maturity model places companies at one of 4 maturity levels: ad hoc, disclosure-driven, governed, or integrated. At the beginning of their ESG journeys, companies are at the ad hoc level with reactive, siloed ESG activities and no formal procedures, assessments, or disclosures. The next level is driven by regulatory and investor expectations for disclosures with metrics and periodic reporting. To reach this disclosure-driven level, companies need to identify material ESG topics, set goals and targets, define and measure key metrics, and publish disclosures. Let's look at how the ServiceNow ESG Management Application can help set up a disclosure-driven program. First, we need to identify a material topic. Material topics are an organization's biggest impacts on the economy, environment, and people, like climate and energy, volunteering, and diversity. For our example, let's look at climate and energy. First, we need to define a goal and a target for this topic. A goal is an objective a company sets for itself to impact its chosen material topic, and a target helps measure the progress toward the goal. For this example, our goal is use only renewable energy by 2035, and our target is use renewable energy for 50% of our global power needs by 2025. Let's see how to create them in the application. We'll go to the ESG workspace. We'll give our goal a name, choose its classification, and specify start and end dates. We'll select a goal owner, add a description, and save. That's it, we've created our goal. We could also add a sub-goal, but this goal doesn't have one. You can set up goals as you gather data or afterward. Associating goals with existing metrics is also a great way to move toward a disclosure-driven ESG program. Now let's set up a target for this goal. We'll provide a name, specify start and end dates, and select a goal owner. We'll choose a measure and then specify a base value, target value, and actual value to track our progress. We've created our target. Next, let's define some metrics to collect data and measure progress toward our goals. To create a metric, we need 2 things: a metric definition that defines how we collect the data and calculate the metric score, and a business entity for which the metric score is calculated. Note that you can create metrics without associating them with specific goals or targets. The ESG Management Application uses 3 types of metric definitions. An automated metric definition uses a table or script to collect data automatically. A manual metric definition includes a data owner who collects the data manually, and a calculated definition aggregates multiple metric definitions. For this video, we'll create metrics using the manual and calculated metric definitions. First, let's create a manual metric. We'll provide a name, enter a description, and select an enterprise owner. We'll provide method instructions, specify a frequency, and choose a group. Finally, we'll select a data owner responsible for providing the data and save. Now let's add entities for which data is to be collected. We'll add Acme, Colorado and Acme, India. Now we have the two things we need for a metric definition and entities. Let's go ahead and save. There, we've created two metrics, one for each entity. Note that the metric values are empty. That's because the data owner hasn't provided any data yet. Let's see how Adam, the ESG data owner, can provide data using the metrics data module. When he logs in, he can open the metrics data module and find all his assigned metric tasks across various entities in a spreadsheet format. Here, he can filter his tasks by metric groups, look at the metadata for a specific metric, review instructions provided by the admin, provide the metric data for a task, collaborate with teammates, and add an attachment to support the data. The manual metric task we assigned to Adam is also here. Adam can simply enter the metric value and save the task. Once he's entered values for both tasks, he can submit them to populate the metrics we created earlier. Now let's look at a use case for the calculated metric definition, carbon accounting. Carbon accounting is a way for organizations to calculate their greenhouse gas emissions to help them understand their climate impact and set goals to limit their emissions. We can calculate emissions using a calculated metric definition. But first, we need to create emission activities and emission factors. An emission activity is any activity that causes the release of greenhouse gases. Emission factors are coefficients that help convert emission activity data into greenhouse gas emission data. Let's see how to create an emission activity. We'll provide a name, enter a type, and submit. We've created the emission activity. Now let's create an emission factor. We'll give it a name, specify the original unit and the target unit, and then choose an emission activity. We've created our emission factor. Note that you can import emission factors and activities into the system from spreadsheets or other data files. Next, we'll create a calculated metric definition that uses this emission factor. We'll provide a name, enter a description, and select an enterprise owner. We'll choose a method, which should be entity, in order to use an emission factor in our metric definition. We'll specify a frequency and save. We could use functions like sum, average, max, or min in our calculated metric definition. But for our example, we'll use a custom formula that uses the emission factor we just created. We'll choose the manual metric definition we created earlier, select the emission factor we just created, and save. We created two metrics to measure emissions for two entities. So far, we've identified material topics, set goals and targets, and defined and measured key metrics using metric definitions. Now, to reach the disclosure-driven ESG maturity level, we still need to publish disclosures of our ESG activities. We can create a disclosure from the home page. We'll give it a name, specify a type, and select the time period for the disclosure. We want to publish a disclosure for 2021. We can add up to 3 time periods to a disclosure for a retrospective look at a company's ESG data. Next, we'll choose the objects we want to add to the disclosure. Here, we're adding the manual metric definition, and the manual metrics we created earlier. we've created a disclosure. After the disclosure has been approved, you can find it on the home page. The home page contains a snapshot of our ESG setup, including material topics, goals, and metrics, and captures our progress toward our ESG goals. An ESG program manager can view goals created across the ESG pillars, track progress toward those goals by studying the top-level goals summary and targets summary, view approved disclosures, and reference the materiality matrix. The materiality matrix heat map shows the impact on stakeholders and impact on business for each of your material topics. You can configure these two parameters. In our example, corporate governance is a critical topic because it's important to both shareholders and other stakeholders. In this video, we've learned what is ESG, what are ESG maturity levels, and how to implement a disclosure-driven ESG program using the ESG Management Application. For more information, see our product documentation or knowledge base, or ask a question in the ServiceNow community.